Let's throw our hands in the air as we soar through the sky.
Yatta!
We'll catch the sun with your hand in mine, and if we work as a team, everything will be fine.
Yeah!
Oh, it's Cure of the What Now?
Let's henshin and start the show.
Hello, fellow defenders of the earth, and welcome to episode 47 of
Cure of the What Now?
the one show where we know the only way to defeat the big bad is to summon a giant woman. I'm your host, Kat.
Excellent. And what are you?
Kat?
Oh, excellent.
Cat.
Awesome. And I am your co-host, Joel, and look out, the delete hole's coming right for you!
Oh no, the delete hole! I'll be with you soon, Westar! We'll get to that, though. We'll get to that.
Absolutely.
We don't necessarily have a specific discussion question for this week. I think we have one final big discussion question that we'll save for the final episode next week. But we did get a response to last week's discussion question. What would the PreCure have as their unique individual fairies? From James, that one welder guy. And he simply said, the girls are in the tropical room. Minori swaddles her papaya. She puts her ear close to the papaya. What's that, papaya? You want me to kill everyone in this room?
Haha, just kidding. Or
Unless.
am I? I think that is the perfect way to mesh our style of humor with the ridiculousness that is the Minori papaya dealio. A couple of weeks ago, I kind of had papayas on the brain, and I had, kind of a big project to work on. But here's a fun fact about people with ADHD and depression. Sometimes we get these grand ideas for what to work on, and then we abandon the project partway through. I do want to circle back and try and finish the mysterious papaya project, but it's going to be a little while. It kind of went on break with the Christmas holiday and our little adventure we went on.
Yeah, we got so behind on all of the sticker sheets and everything that you were just like, I have only one thing to do.
Absolutely. But I believe that next week we are on track to probably record the day the episode comes out. I really would like a quick turnaround just because I think people will be very excited to talk about it and that sort of thing. Also, I have an idea for the final episode. This is kind of in lieu of the discussion question. Normally we ask everyone to tell us what their own answers or thoughts on the discussion question are. Next week, I think we're going to do some fake awards. So we might try to come up with a superlative for Asuka most times almost made out with the senpai or something like, I don't know. Minori most likely to write a story where everyone turns into werewolves. That kind of thing. So if you have any awards you would like to give any of the main characters, any of the side characters, please let us know.
Which of the PreCure will we award most likely to get fired from their job at Pizza Hut for snorting coke in the walk-in? You're just gonna have to tune in and find out who gets that particular award.
What's the walk-in?
It's the walk-in freezer. It's where you store ingredients and stuff.
Oh, okay, and that's where the cool kids do their drugs? Is that what you're saying?
I guess. Listen, my first ever job was a Pizza Hut, and my second day on the job, a customer came in, and I looked around, and nobody else was there, and I didn't have any idea what to do, because I was still just supposed to be doing training, so I figured it out, I helped the customer, and then I went looking for my boss, the manager of this Pizza Hut, and the other employees, and they were all out back, just smoking some pot, and whatever, if that's your thing, that's fine, but somebody stay in to help the baby.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think that this episode is going to be sponsored by Pizza Hut, but, if they're interested, we can redact all of that, just say nice things about their pizza, about their product.
I like the pizzone. Is the pizzone still a thing?
I never knew it was a thing. That's just so outside my realm.
I remember a couple of years ago when they brought it back, and I freaked out, and I was so excited because it had been my favorite. And I tried one, and are we sponsored by Pizza Hut or not?
We are not sponsored.
It was not as good as I remembered, and I was really sad.
Oh, pizzone, like a pizza calzone. Yeah. I was thinking that it was like a specific area in the restaurant. This is the pizzone. This is where you get in the zone of the pizza. When you cross over into the pizzone, you transform into a pizza.
Oh, we are already starting this episode off on an excellent note. Joel, do you have a succinct summary of the second to last episode of Tropical Rouge PreCure for me?
Absolutely. Episode 45 of Tropical Rouge. The evil generals, Butler, Chongyure, Elda, are awake despite having their motivation power taken because they didn't have that much to begin with. Am I right, fellas? Like, that's actually the explanation. They betray Butler because they wanted their dreams fulfilled, and the Butler's not going to do that. The Butler summons these cool monsters that are called the Koa Sunda. We actually saw them last episode in a flashback. They're the original minions of the Witch of Destruction. The evil generals say, we've got this, we'll take them on, you fight Butler. The girls try to fight Butler, he smacks them into a crevasse. They're at the bottom, and they start talking about all of the things that they still need to do, so they can't lose here because they still have the Trofest next episode. And so they get back up, they use a powerful attack that combines both the land and marine rings in order to summon A, an infinite number of whales, B, an infinite number of elephants, and C, the PreCure Giant Lady. It looks like from the fandom and stuff that this is actually Kira Oasis having been summoned back, but I got the impression that this was like Manatsu summoning like her stand or something. But the point is, it's a giant lady, she's really excited, she's full of Tropica energy, she's shushing her hips, and she defeats the Butler, who then puts all of his motivation power into the cannon to destroy the world, and they're all like, what do we do? And then the Mermaid Queen, who can just move the Grand Ocean like it's a ship, shows up and goes, here's the Aquapat, press the button, it'll solve the problems, and they solve the problems, and then that's basically it. The rest of the episode is preparing for 46, which will be the Trofest.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Did you have elephant recursion on your Tropical Rouge PreCure bingo sheet?
You know what? No, I really didn't, and when it happened, I was terrified. I was shaking in my boots. They put the fear of God in me.
All computer scientists are terrified of recursion. It is known.
Absolutely it is.
Do you like this episode?
This episode was pretty good, yes. I will say it's interesting because they put a lot of effort into the fight animation for, how long it lasted. There was a part where Songo created like 5 shields to try to block Butler's attack, and it wasn't strong enough to stop it, and they used Summer Strike and Flamingo Swoop at the same time. But there were parts where it kind of felt like they had intentionally skipped animation or frames of animation, and I think it was a stylistic choice, but to someone who's normally seen smooth animation, it felt like maybe they ran out of budget and couldn't actually animate all of it, and so that kind of threw me off a little bit.
I liked it as a stylistic choice. I feel like you were supposed to feel tension in that scene, and having it be very jarring like that increased the tension for me.
Absolutely.
Plus, it looked like JoJo's.
Yeah.
And I'm just infinitely amused by the idea of a JoJo's PreCure crossover. You know who would never let Araki kill a dog? Toei.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
They didn't even let Elda get hurt in this episode.
Absolutely. How did you feel about this episode?
Mostly positive. I really liked that big battle. I loved the frames of them being very intense doing their attacks. PreCure Giant Lady, always a hit with me. Can't tell you why, it's just a meme at this point. I didn't like the Deus Ex Machina. I would have rather they'd found like an interesting or clever way to solve the problem instead of, the queen is here now. Usually in these final episodes, we get a moment where everybody the PreCure have helped have been like, let's give our energy to the PreCure. And I like it when that happens.
Yeah. They did kind of, the way this season's kind of MacGuffin, if you want to call it that, kind of works, is that there weren't enough people feeling motivated to help the girls. So I could kind of understand why at that point it would be hard to say, okay, they're going to do a spirit bomb or some equivalent. But I also agree that it felt kind of weird that you could just use the Aquapot to undo the casket, the motivation, because, like...
Why didn't they go there at the beginning of the season and just fix Grand Ocean?
Yeah, exactly. So that was kind of weird. I did like that the Butler, like, deflated after he put his motivation in the cannon, and they all just kind of agreed that they weren't going to give his motivation back. It's probably better that he can't be bothered to try to end the world again, which is an interesting take. I would have thought they'd try to revive him and talk him out of doing it.
Yeah, his motivation plumps out of the aqua pot as this little, like, spiky ball, and the queen goes, I'll take care of that. I'll hold on to it. And Manatsu goes, okay, here you go. And then it just disappears. So I know we usually save predictions for the end, but I'm thinking that is going to be whatever creates the monster that summons, next season's PreCure for our preview episode next week.
Absolutely.
She'll be like, you focus on your Trawfest, I'll fight the monster. We got to talk about that sneak peek at the end there.
Of course.
In a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there anything from this episode that really stood out to you?
Oh my gosh. There's a lot. I really want to go back to the Kawasunda. I like it because it sounds like Cowabunga, from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I quickly Googled it just to see, like, is this a really basic phrase? And it turns out Google says it means break it, which, considering these are servants of the Witch of Destruction, not Witch of Delays, that makes a lot of sense. But I am using Google Translate, so I'm sure if there's someone out there who can speak Japanese, there might be a more nuanced translation. I don't know. During the battle where the Butler, Chongirei, and Elda were holding off the Kawasunda, afterwards, if you're paying attention, Numeri has 2 horns, and one of them has been broken as a way to signify, like, lasting damage, and Chongirei has the scar over the eye, as you've seen in One Piece.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I now need a photoshopped Chongirei holding Zoro's swords. That is all I want in this world.
What about Rayleigh's glasses? And, like, Rayleigh's silver hair on Chongirei. I think that would look great.
Here's the thing. Rayleigh is such a powerful gilf that I feel like combining him with Chongirei would create something unstoppable. I'm not sure that I can take responsibility for putting that into the world,
You've unleashed a new era of monster cuddlers and furries at that point.
Crab with abs, but make it gilf.
Can you imagine if we had an episode that was sponsored by Pizza Hut and we just started talking about gilfs in the middle of it and sexy crab men? I feel like, okay, you know what? We wanted you to hype up our new seafood platter pizza, but maybe this is going too far.
I was going to say, do you think they would keep sponsoring us after that? Oh man, I know a guy at Domino's. I can get us that sweet, sweet pizza money.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I really liked Shiratori in this episode.
Yes.
So not everybody got their motivation power sucked up when the Butler had the whale go over the city. And I like to think that it was the people who were especially motivated, the people with the most genki, that didn't get it. So Minatsu's mom is fine, the head of the aquarium is fine, Shiratori is fine.
I think what happened is the whale took exactly 5 points of motivation from everyone, but Shiratori has like maybe 6, and Minatsu's mom has 7, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. But Shiratori is leading kind of the rescue party on the ground, getting all of the people who have fallen inside and under blankets, and she looks up at the sky and she goes, "It will be okay. Asuka and the girls will definitely save us." Asuka and the girls. We all see who you chose to highlight there, ma'am. She's not even the team leader.
I mean, she's barely interacted with any of the others, just a little bit. At the end of the episode, they have another moment when everything is fine and they're setting up Tropical Fest. And by the way, the Tropical Club has become like the go-to club for all the other clubs. They're like, Minori, can you help us fix this script? Oh, there's a ghost, and Manatsu's hiding in a barrel and all this other stuff. But Shiratori kind of is next to Asuka and goes like, yeah, you girls are working hard. And Asuka's like, yeah, And Shiratori goes, did you save the world, by the way? And there's kind of a pause, and Asuka goes, no, of course not. And that's, I don't know, it's really funny that I guess Shiratori has figured out that they are PreCure. Many other seasons will do the reveal, but the reveal will be to, like, the entire town, whereas this kind of reveal is like only one person knows, and she's the girlfriend of one of the Cures. So
absolutely.
We got a brief flash while the world was being destroyed because taking the motivation power caused all sorts of weather phenomena, probably from the cannon itself, but Karun was hiding in their shell, which was really sad, but kind of adorable because it's Karurun, and I'm just glad that no harm came to Karurun.
Absolutely. But let me just say, I feel like Toei is trolling us a little bit in this episode.
Okay.
So this whole season, all of us have been like, Karurun's going to be important. Karurun's going to be like Fua and get a transformation, learn to talk, become a person, something, right? Mm-hmm. Something is going to come of this creature being here. This is the gun that Chekhov placed on the table and walked out of the room about. At the end of this episode, Karurun ends up in Manatsu's mom's arms, and she goes, "Oh, hi! What are you?" And Karurun goes, "Karurun." And I really feel like that was Toei poking fun at us a little bit.
Now, you say poking fun at us. I don't know. I think
not us specifically, the fans.
Fair enough. I liked the idea of Karurun becoming something more important, but I don't know. Karurun just being Karurun is pretty great.
Karurun will always be Karurun.
Yeah, the immutable fact of the universe that cannot be changed. The axiomatic belief of God.
Baby.
Yes.
Please tell me that you have not founded a religion based on the worship of a fairy seal from a cartoon.
Not yet. I need, the materials for the shrine, obviously. We give seashell cookies and thanks and praise to Karurun. Karurun.
I did sign up to support you in all your endeavors when we got married. So,
absolutely, if you would like to accept Karurun into your delicious seashell cookie heart, then just wait. That makes it sound like Karurun's going to eat all of
Dial
us.
1-800-Fairy God.
Absolutely. I do have one last quote that I wrote down, and this quote will live in infamy in my brain, all right? From all of the PreCure canon, there are exactly 2 quotes that I will remember until the end of time. Number 1, "I am an empty shell of a clown." Perfect. And then the second one is Butler talking to Elde saying, "Betraying people is what adults do." What? Every adult? So when you turn 18, you have to betray someone in order to, officially, continue living or become adult?
This whole season, Elde has said, I don't want to be adult. Adults suck. And so this is kind of Butler throwing that back in her face. Didn't you say adults suck? So I'm just doing what you thought we did this whole time.
Oh, I hadn't interpreted it like that. I thought he was just saying, all adults are like this. And it's just no society can be built off of everyone betraying each other. We're social animals. I know that might be different for anthropomorphic butlers and crabs.
Anthropomorphic butlers? Butlers aren't human, usually.
Butlers broke off from the common ancestor 1,600,000 years ago.
That's why they always committed the murder, because they have an insatiable thirst for blood.
But you know what I mean? These sea creatures are not human, but they have so many human traits that I'm sure that they are social creatures as well. But that was kind of my only thoughts for this. As you said, we will want to go back and talk about, future predictions and such later. But unless you have anything else to say, I think it's time for Fresh.
I just can't believe we only have 1 episode left.
It's gone by, absolutely.
This past year has just whooshed. But we'll talk about it more next week. I really am happy that we got to go on this particular journey.
Absolutely.
Fresh time.
Or, as you've been calling it all week, French time. Ho ho!
Oui, oui!
Cure baguette.
My dad and I were talking last night about, the French accent that we all affect. Mm-hmm. Why is it always in a deeper voice?
I don't know.
Are we inspired by Pepe Le Pew? Is that why we must speak the French like this?
I think we've talked about this before, but the Vikings wearing horns on their helmets was actually created by the British when they did a play that was making fun of them. And then it just became this cultural staple that a lot of people draw Vikings in kids' cartoons with the horns. So I wonder if there's some famous play or piece of art or something that had that voice for a French person, and that just became the stereotypical French voice.
It could be. It's almost to the point where I can't do a French accent without lowering my voice like that. I have to be obnoxious. I don't know if I've told this story on the podcast before. When I was 4, my family went to France, and my dad, who speaks French, decided he was going to play a not nice trick on his poor, sweet 4-year-old daughter. And when I asked, how do I order a cheese omelet in French, he got me to tell the waiter I was a cheesehead. I also was really into The Little Mermaid as a child. And so I thought that if I said, ha-ha, I would be speaking French. And so my parents let me walk around France doing that to people. This is why people don't like Americans.
I mean, it certainly paints us in a certain light, huh? But at least your parents were having fun. At least they were doing what was most important to them at that moment, which was watch their tiny girl waddling around going, oh!
Fresh PreCure.
Yes, absolutely. This week, we watched episodes 45 through 47. Episode 45 was a Christmas Eve episode, except that didn't really factor into the episode at all, other than Buki was wearing an adorable winter outfit. They all had winter outfits, but only
Buki
deserves
was cute.
Attention.
They did have a romantic scene in the snow in front of the town Christmas tree between Love and Daisuke.
Okay, I guess that's true. I just feel like the episode didn't focus on it the same way that other seasons have had them meeting Santa, for example. Because Fresh decided the last 6 episodes were going to be plot heavy, which is fine. I love a good climactic battle, but I'm so used to other seasons where it doesn't last quite as long. Anyways, on Christmas Eve, Love and the others decide that they are going to go and fight Labyrinth. First, what they decide to do is they're going to go and ask Choro, the elder, tiramisu, from the Sweets Kingdom what to do now that Chiffon's been taken. But when they show up, everyone's been taken over by Lord Mobius's tentacles that are called worms. But they're like cables, basically. The only person who is not mind-controlled is Azukina, Tart's fiance, who was saved by Tiramisu before he got taken over and was like, you guys need to run, you need to fight Labyrinth. So they go back to Clovertown, and they decide that they're going to fight Labyrinth and save Chiffon. It's their duty, it's what they have to do in order to save the world. But before they do, they're going to tell their parents and their other loved ones, they tell Karu and Daisuke and all of them that they are PreCure and they need to go save the world.
Yeah, Love is like, we might not come back this time. We have to tell everyone before we go.
Yes. She phrases it as we should tell our parents, but also, Daisuke and other people are there. They reveal that they're PreCure. They say that they need to go save a friend. They don't mention that the world will be destroyed or assimilated by the Borg if they don't do this. And the moms are like, no, you're our precious daughters. Don't go off being superheroes. So the girls have decided to stay home while the world gets assimilated. And then eventually they decide to sneak off, but then the moms independently decide that it's okay for them to go, and then they go. So it was an interesting episode. There wasn't there wasn't a fight in it, there wasn't a Sora Watase, there was just kind of some resolution, I guess, to the idea of the PreCure's identities being secret.
I want to touch on Daisuke really quick.
Absolutely.
I feel like it would have been really easy for this show to pull he's angry that she didn't tell him, and he's embarrassed that he gave all of his information about liking Love to cure Peach, and then they were the same person. But instead, they went a much more supportive route, right? Yes. He kind of, for a minute, is like, I can't believe you told my sister, but not me. I told Cure Peach all that stuff. That's so uncool. I'm uncool. And then Love is like, so about you having feelings for me? And he goes, no, man, go fight evil. And then you can tell me when you come back. Then you have to come back so that you can tell me.
It is adorable. This is the only romance that I've seen, the only het romance I've seen that really works for me in the seasons of PreCure that we have watched. And no, it was a really good scene. It was cute. I really liked it. Daisuke showed some good, mature, feelings about it. And I was kind of hoping, and you pointed this out while we were watching it, that it would have been interesting if Daisuke and Kento and unnamed third member of the team had been able to speak up to the parents and say, like, no, why can't you trust these girls?
They're doing important work.
Yes.
If your daughter came to you and said, hey, that superhero that's been in the news? That's been me this whole time, and I gotta go do more superheroing. Do you think you would react the way the parents in this episode did?
Well, so I think being concerned for their safety is a very legitimate concern to have, especially, I can't remember how many times the PreCure have come, close to being defeated, and especially if that's been caught on camera. I get that impulse, but there is a certain level of, there are supernatural creatures effing with the town, and the only thing that can stop them are these superheroes. So while it is understandable to not want your precious daughter or daughters to be hurt, you also kind of have to let them be a superhero unless you're gonna don the PreCure outfit and wave a magic wand.
Yeah, well, and like we've established that I'm a pretty pragmatic person, but I feel like I'd go, well, you've been doing this whole time anyway. So you continuing to do it isn't any more or less dangerous than it has been. We'll talk about your lying to me when you get back, though.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I did allude to this in my succinct summary, but it's weird that they phrase it as we have to go save Chiffon, which they do. Chiffon is absolutely important. But to someone who's never met Chiffon, don't you think it would be a little bit more impactful if you say, like, they're going to be hurting a lot of people, so we're going to go stop that? I think that's more...
See, I thought they did say that part, because there was a scene of them watching the news and the natural disasters were happening, and the mom was like, oh, Love feels really bad that she can't go put a stop to this. But that makes it even weirder to me that the parents threw such a big fit about it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where... if you've seen the story from the point of view of the PreCure, it's easy to side with them. Maybe if we got a season, which would be really not interesting, but if we got a season from Ayumi's point of view, where her daughter just kept disappearing, a superhero punches a monster in the background, and then Love comes back 2 minutes later, maybe we would be able to side with her being worried, but...
Yeah, well, and, like, she had a perfect built-in reason to be as upset as she was. The girls literally put themselves in the hospital from the strain of doing too much at once.
That's
but
true.
That wasn't even brought up.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I liked this episode. I really liked Daisuke's response. Daisuke deserves to be a PreCure. He's got the spirit.
Absolutely. Karu also kind of surprised me. He's had a couple of times where he's sort of... it's been hinted at that he has, like, a mysterious past, or that maybe he knows that they're PreCure or whatever, but he didn't seem to have any reaction as either surprise or I knew it all along to the girls revealing who they are. But he gives Tart a bag of donuts that will help him later down the road. And I really, I thought that there was a cute moment between Tart and his bro, Karu, but it's actually going to be important in a second, so keep that in mind. Tart has donuts.
Tucking the donuts into my back pocket.
Chekhov's donuts. Chekhov's carbs. Episode 46. So the girls are, they are they're horrified to realize that all the people in Labyrinth basically are robots. Not beep boop robots. They're not, machinery. They seem to be organic people. But they all, they only do what Mobius orders them to do. They don't help each other unless ordered to. Everything they do is for Mobius-sama. They have a strict schedule that they follow. We find out later that they don't know what delicious is, so I assume that they eat, just nutrition sludge for every meal.
Have you seen Soylent, the bottle of meal replacement?
Absolutely.
That's all they get.
Yeah, or the episode, or the movie where of Dexter's Lab where he had time travel and his, teenage young adult self had to eat that gruel every morning. He went, breakfast. That's what the Labyrinth people are like. So they see that everyone's kind of conformists and that's how Mobius wants to rule the world. They infiltrate the tower. It's a little weird because the tower can kind of shift and send them in different directions. And eventually it separates Peach and Pine go into one warp hole. Berry and Passion go into another warp hole, and Tart and Azakina are left kind of to do their own thing. This episode mostly focuses on Berry and Pine, who are now fighting Soular and Westar, who begged Mobius to give them one more chance to prove themselves despite the fact that they've failed him so many times before. They're fighting, the girls are trying to appeal to their emotions, the evil General Boys are like, no, this is the only life that we've ever known. Mobius would never betray us, and then Mobius betrays them.
What?
And I made fun of this already, and we're going to continue to make fun of this, but Mobius has control over something called... They're called delete holes, which, if that's not the funniest thing you've ever heard, it's kind of interesting because the delete hole phrase it's just weird and bizarre, but it's also juxtaposed next to Westar and Soular having emotional crises where they realize that they've been betrayed and trying to protect Berry and Pine from being deleted themselves, and ultimately they are kind of sacrificed, not by the girls, but they kind of willingly go into the delete hole so that the girls can escape. And that was an emotional scene. And I really wonder if these people are all Data. By the way, Labyrinth, the town or the city or the realm, whatever it is, it looks like a
microchip.
Like a microchip, but extremely big. Like there's buildings and stuff, but if you zoom out, it's a microchip. So I'm wondering if Westar and Soular's Data can be reclaimed from the recycle bin, like maybe it hasn't been erased from the buffer, so to speak. But for now, they are gone, and ouch our feels.
Oh, it hurt my heart so bad. Soular is one thing, because we don't really have a relationship built up between him and any of the other characters, I would say, except for kind of Westar. But Westar, specifically, this entire time, was like, Ys, are you going to come back? Ys, we can all be friends again. And her pointing out, like, you never stopped caring about me, Westar. And him going, you know what, you're right, I did used to think about all of us eating donuts together. Like, oh, buddy, no.
Absolutely, yeah. I think what it is that Soular doesn't have a personality outside of being Soular, whereas Westar has episodes. He went on a vacation and lied about it to his boss. Like, that's hilarious, and that tells us more about his character, whereas Soular is mostly just mean to Westar and reads books. And, like, that's kind of interesting, I guess. And then... Oh, I guess we should talk about this episode. Also, Tart and Azakina find this Death Star-looking thing that Chiffon is inside, and they decide to try and save Chiffon. Of course they do, but the episode ends before they actually take any concrete steps. They're just kind of like, what is this? And you see Chiffon sleeping in the core of the Death Star. I'm going to guess that you liked this episode based off of the emotional impact of Westar and Soular.
I did, yeah. I liked it a lot. I'm really interested in the girls' personal philosophy and how it's impacting the people they come into contact with. Mm-hmm. And we get into that a little more in the next episode.
Absolutely. I will say that from a certain point of view, because I'm a bit older and I read other stories or watch other media that maybe go a little bit more in depth, and I like thinking about world building and stuff, it's weird that Labyrinth is just this place where everyone conforms perfectly and everyone follows advice, and like no one even has the tiniest hint of compassion. There's like an older man who's like trying to pick up something and he's about to fall because it's too heavy, and no one makes a move to help him. I understand if they are robots and programmed, I would understand why they would act that way, and it would be horrifying and alien to the girls who come from a world where we have more variety and free will and that sort of thing. But we find out next episode that they actually aren't really like super programmed to always do exactly the same thing. And so like, I'm surprised that there aren't, and I mean, I know we only had 20 minutes to explore the city, but I'm surprised that there aren't people who are born with more empathy and compassion and question the authority of the world around them.
Oh, they probably get delete hold at like 6.
Okay, yeah, maybe it's a fear thing.
It's a form of selection. So
yeah.
All of the adults in this society are adults who never had the opportunity to question, because if they had, they wouldn't have made it to adulthood.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying, if you're at home and you're writing stuff, if you're writing for, a children's show, if you're writing for PreCure, it's okay. But if you're writing for a more mature audience, there's questions that arise out of this that should really be considered. It feels like there should be more, like, I hate to say it, but like police or like authority people, and they would need to strictly enforce these kind of rules. Mm. And historically, these kinds of places don't tend to last very long because the citizens don't appreciate being treated like that.
Absolutely.
Episode 47. This one focuses on Peach and Pine, who are fighting Northa. That's where they got teleported last episode. And Tart is going on his own little adventure, Tart and Azakina. They decide to try to break the machine that's holding Chiffon. But before they can do much damage, the claw machines come down, extract them, and throw them out of the tower. And they're like, great, we have to start over from the very beginning. Azakina, her tummy growls, so Tart's like, oh, here's some donuts. And there's a kid who's like, what are those? And this is one of the kids from Labyrinth, so he's kind of like, what are those? I don't understand. They do not compute. It is not time to eat donuts. And Tart's just like, nah, try the donut, man. And he tries and he goes, oh, this is delicious. I have a personality now. I'm an individual inside the community. Peach and Pine are fighting Northa, and she's trying to pull the whole end of the third Matrix movie, why do you get up? Why do you keep fighting? And they're like, because we want to get our happiness.
We get stronger from things sucking.
Basically, yeah, we overcome the things that are in our way, and that makes us stronger. This fight, for some reason, this also breaks my suspension of disbelief, but this fight is broadcast to the city. Tart and Ozakina, an unnamed child, are watching and cheering on the PreCure, being like, yeah, PreCure, keep fighting, it's noble that you don't give up, which it is. But then eventually the people marching by kind of stop and turn and go, what's that, PreCure? We're all individuals too! And they're broken free of their programming and they all want to help the girls. Tart decides he wants to play the music box. But its sound is so dim it can't reach the girls. But then all of these individuals who've broken free of their programming decide to help broadcast it on the speakers, which they do, which gives Peach and Pine extra powerful punches. It helps Barry and Passion find their way to
It literally dissolves Northa's tentacles.
Yes, which are kind of like wrapped around the room and that kind of thing. And it also, we see Chiffon waking up from being Infinity inside this machine. And by the way, the couple of wires that Tart pulled out seem to be like wiggling around. I really thought they were tentacles, like a living thing. But you pointed out, Cap, that maybe it was like wires coming loose and the machine was kind of breaking down. But none of the girls know that that's what's happening. So that'll get resolved in the next couple of episodes, I'm sure. And then at the very end of the episode, when Northa realizes that she's lost, she eats one of her little Sorowatase seeds, and she transforms into a giant demon. Like, literally, she has, like, the goat horns coming out of her head, and she's, like, this big, was she red? It doesn't matter. She's, like, this inhuman
Terrifying.
Creature. Absolutely.
Peach says, is that Northa's true form?
Yeah.
And I object because, no. She Sorowatase herself. Your true form can't be something that comes from an external whatever. And maybe she thought, like, at her core, is Northa a monster?
Yeah, is this representative of Northa's? I think, I mean, I don't know how well this will get explored, but I choose to believe that that's what Northa is. She's that demonic creature. And thousands of years ago, some other PreCure sealed her into a human form. And so what she's doing here is she's eating the Sorowatase, and maybe she's giving up some of her sentience, right? Maybe she's just becoming, like, bloodlust incarnate. But, like, it's a permanent transformation back into her original form. I don't know if they really thought it through, but yeah, I think your idea also makes sense. It represents the true, anguish inside of her heart or whatever, the true sorrow or whatever.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to say about this episode or these 3 episodes?
Yeah, I did write down a quote, and you kind of alluded to this, but basically, Northa's like, why, don't you realize that it's your fault that the world has fallen into despair? Which it isn't, it's Mobius's fault. But Pine goes, it's okay to make choices we might later regret, and Peach says, by doing it that way, we get stronger because we chose that path. Very existentialist of them, and I'm not kidding, this almost perfectly mirrors the end of the third Matrix when Neo is confronted with the question of why does he get up, why does he keep fighting. It's a good lesson, I really like it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's more mature than I would expect from children this age, if the PreCure, were real people.
Sure.
But I think it is a good lesson for the kids that are watching.
Mm-hmm. Alternatively, maybe because when they transform, they sometimes seem to be older versions of themselves, or at least that's been my interpretation of it. Maybe they get, like, a little bit of wisdom when they transform, kind of like Shazam, for example, who has the wisdom of
Solomon.
One of them. Thank you. Yeah. The S in Shazam. I thought Zeus, I'm like, I don't think Zeus is wisdom. I think Zeus is like lightning bolts or something like that.
Zeus is big ol' punches.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're not going to end this season of Cure of the What Now on episode 50. That would have made it so round. We're going to end on 48. I guess that's okay because 4 is half of 8. But...
What? Oh, okay. Yeah, 4 is half of it. Also, 48 means that we have 4 distinct quarters. We have 1 through 16, 17 through 32, 33 through 48, and then, you know what I'm saying.
Okay. That's not bad. I accept your explanation.
Sorry, it's divisible by 16 3 times. It's divisible by 12 4 times. So we have 4 quarters of 1 through 12, 13 through 24, etc.
We all believe you are good at math.
No, I need to prove it. I made this joke in the Discord, but there's a line from Tart where he says something about, like, sharing donuts helps share happiness or something like that, and that's delicious party PreCure right there.
Absolutely it is. Quick shout out to Tart's dad, who I've just discovered is named Waffle. He's a ferret named Waffle, and I would die for him.
He looks exactly like Tart, except he's wearing a crown and has a mustache. You know, that's pretty great.
Do you not look identical to your father, except your father has a mustache and a crown?
Yeah, of course. That's how it works. I also want to point out, it's kind of interesting, both this season and Tropical Rouge season, and Futari 1, now that I think about it, had this, like, we need to go fight the bad guys, we might not be coming back type of thing. And I think it's really interesting that both Fresh and Tropical Rouge dealt with, like, letting the parents know, but Fresh did it in like we need to go and tell them we're gonna have an entire episode dedicated to the conflict and the different feelings. And Tropical Rouge just had Laura leave a note that's like, Manatsu and I are fine, we'll be back later, bye, signed Laura. We don't have time for that, we have to go fight a giant seahorse.
And as we've discussed, I feel like Manatsu's mom is a bit of a neglectful mom, so she's just like, yeah, that checks out. World's ending, can't find my daughters, but Laura says it's fun, so.
Absolutely. Are we ready to move on to looking ahead and tweets in a bottle type stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That one Water Guy let us know that he really liked the note from Laura to Mom with just, everything is okay, Mom. Gosh, geez, stop worrying about us. We're just stopping the end of the world, you know? He wanted to know why they gave, I don't remember what it was called. Was it like super excellent style?
It's something like that. I'm just going to keep calling it PreCure Giant Lady. PreCure Tropical Giant Lady. Or Tropical PreCure Giant Lady. He wanted to know why Tropical PreCure Giant Lady had such big hips. I don't know. They did give her the Pixar hips. I really think it's just her dress more than anything. But why?
So, you know, gosh, Grandma, what big eyes you have or whatever. All the better to see you with, my dear. Gosh, Tropical PreCure Giant Lady, why do you have such big hips? All the better sashay with. She has an energy that I really want to describe as like LOL random from the internet. In her attack, she has like a that she does, kind of like a slapping attack or whatever. I think they wanted her to be as flamboyant as possible.
I got hula dancing vibes from her with the way she was moving her hands and her hips. And when you think about tropical dancing, I think hula comes to mind for everyone.
Absolutely.
So the hips are such a big part of hula dancing that it kind of makes sense to me that they were so exaggerated, even if it was just her dress.
Yeah, absolutely. And then those thoughts were just kind of ones he threw in the channel as he was like live reacting to the episode. But his Tropica thoughts at the very end was, what an episode, the fight was amazing, the new attack was just so good, it was everything he wanted it to be. But looking ahead, he doesn't want Toei to do this to him. Don't you frickin' make Laura choose between becoming queen and staying. I didn't mention that in the succinct summary. At the very end of the episode, Laura, they're having a sleepover at the school, and they're all in different sleeping bags, which I thought was kind of interesting because Laura is a bug, and Manatsu is like a sunflower, and Songo is like a pharaoh, I think. Like, it's all just, like, it's really random what their sleeping bags are. But Laura sneaks out while everyone else is asleep and is talking to the queen on the aquapot, and the queen says, hey, since the Grand Ocean is a ship that can move through the sea, apparently, we're going to be leaving tomorrow. Laura, you did such a good job as the PreCure, you're welcome to accept your title as queen now if you come back to us.
I will officially name you my heir.
Yes. But we're leaving tomorrow. We will leave without you if you don't get on the ship, so make your decision. You can stay and remain human and become friends with them. I don't know if she said remain human. I think Laura would still be a mermaid.
She said remain human with your friends.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of the Ariel choice a little bit. And Manatsu ended up hearing this conversation, even though I don't think Laura or the queen knew that she was there. But that's where the episode ends, so we didn't see how this gets resolved.
That leads pretty nicely into some predictions for the future. What do you think Laura is going to choose?
I just can't see Laura choosing to not see her friends anymore. But maybe... I think that they're going to somehow keep in touch. Either she stays with them because staying with Manatsu is what's most important right now, and they become good friends in quotation marks, or she goes back to the Grand Ocean but finds a way to, like, recommunicate with Manatsu, or they think that she's going to lose her memories, but she somehow gets them back. So I think there's going to be a happy ending in the end, but that conflict, I'm not looking forward to seeing it play out.
Absolutely. I think Manatsu is going to be more encouraging than we give her credit for. I think she's going to tell Laura, this was your dream. If it's not your dream anymore, that's okay. Do what's most important right now. But if this is what's most important right now, you have to go for it. And Laura is going to be like, well, what if I have to lose my memory? And Manatsu will be like, we'll find a way to give you your memory back.
Don't worry
and
about
maybe,
it.
Maybe the look into the future is Manatsu as a scuba diver and she finally finds the Grand Ocean again.
Okay, very nice. I like that. We've had this trope play out in a couple of other seasons. Futari Wa had one with Romeo and Juliet. Go Princess had one, I think, with Manami Kaido. And then there was an episode of Star Twinkle that also played with this. Next episode, we are getting a play that all of the girls are going to be in. So my guess is that Manatsu might not bring up Laura's choice to Laura right now. She's not going to like, Laura, I heard the conversation. She's probably going to pretend like she didn't hear it, maybe. Or maybe Laura will say, I don't want to talk about it right now. But during the play, I think Manatsu is going to change her lines a little bit in order to, while still maintaining character, tell Laura, go do what's most important to you.
To encourage her, yeah. Because we saw a shot of Sango talking to Minori, being like, did you figure the ending out? And Minori says, yeah, I think I'm going to have it so they all stay together as friends.
Forever, yeah, absolutely.
So I could definitely see Manatsu altering her lines a little bit, and Minori looking around like, that's not what I wrote.
You're ruining the play, Manatsu! Get back in the barrel! Get back in the barrel, Manatsu!
One time I wrote a theme song for one of our seasons of our other podcast, King of the What Now? And I just sent Joel the lyrics, and he was like, I sang it, what do you think? And my first response was, you ruined my words. And then I was like, I didn't mean ruined. You just didn't sing it the way that I had imagined it. But the damage was already done. Like, you can't say that sort of thing to your creative partner.
Absolutely. Now, next episode is called Tropica Shine Are Now, but like it's the wrap-up episode. We actually watched the preview because, like, what plot relevant thing are they going to spoil? That they're going to do the Trofest? So didn't look like anything that was really surprising. They're going to do Trofest. Kat and I both probably predict that there will be a time skip and we'll see like slightly older Manatsu and the rest of them. But most importantly, we see someone in a trench coat and a top hat, it looked like.
And a fake mustache.
And that's clearly the lead girl from next season. And I am looking forward to seeing how she interacts with Manatsu.
It's going to be so funny.
It's going to be great.
Oh, I'm super looking forward to it. Well, because she's not your typical Genki Pink. She's more low-key like Northa from what we know about her. So I'm just really excited imagining that personality interacting with a Manatsu.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I think it was someone drew, like, what if we had the All-Stars movie that had the 3 latest Kiras in it? So it was Manatsu, Northa, and who was it before that?
Before Northa, wasn't it Star Twinkle?
So I guess it would be Hikaru. But it was Hikaru and Manatsu like jumping up and down, and Northa just looking like, these people. Got all the, crow's feet under her eyes and stuff like that. Do you think that the next Pink will be able to taste both seashell cookies and the special rainbow pan melon bread? Or do you think that she's only going to get one or the other?
I think she'll get to taste both.
I think
is that what she's doing here? Is she like on the hunt for undiscovered flavors? Oh my gosh, is the next season going to be like that one show? You know, the show where his attacks are fork and knife?
Oh, Toriko?
Yeah.
I highly doubt it, but I would love to see that.
And that has been your doot final thought.
Outro goes here.
Wait, I have one more final thought. When the butler is going to take the girl's motivation power, he says, Itadakimasu.
Absolutely.
Which is hilarious. Anyway, bye.
Bye.
What a shining episode of Cure of the What Now. Thanks for being our Nakama.
Thank you as always for your support. If you could, very kindly, be sure to like or share this with any of your friends. Let them know that we're always open to suggestions or thoughts about any particular episode.
And please take a moment to rate and review us on wherever you get our podcast from. Except for YouTube. You can't rate and review us on YouTube, but you can like and subscribe.
Absolutely. If you like what we're doing, even just a comment that says keep up the great work is always helpful for brightening our day.
Absolutely. Joel, where can our fine listeners find you if they want more of you?
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with us is to go onto Twitter and find us at KOTWN_pod. That's where we're most active. But of course, we also have a Gmail. That's kingofthewhatpod@gmail.com.
You can also find me at Pirate Ghost Host.
She is much more prolific than I am, but not all of her content is necessarily about the podcast, whereas the other one tries to focus more on the show.
You like our sticker sheets? Joel's got sticker sheets for you. And that has been your Tropica outro.
Do-do-do-do. You'll be dancing with me today.